Hi guys, it is the AFL Yank back here again. Time to do my round 3 tips for the 2022 AFL season. Round 2 was definitely one heck of a crazy round in my opinion, for sure. But yeah, 5 out of 9 wins this week. A lot of games that you could classify as upsets. Well, my books pretty much. But you got 5 out of 9 tips right. I predicted the Dogs to beat Carlton at Marvel Stadium on Thursday, and what a performance by the Blues! They just stood strong over the Dogs. It was amazing to see. But yeah, the Blues they could possibly establish something under Michael Voss. I mean, even if they miss finals, they could still. They're still turning heads as a result of this week. It's amazing, but yeah, Blues fans have plenty of optimism, but it's still very early in the season, so we'll have to see how the Blues go from here. And the next, of course, an amazing game. What a performance by the Swannies! It was just amazing to see them destroy the Cats. Well, not destroy the Cats, but it was amazing to see them dominate the Cats the majority of the game. Plus, of course, Buddy got goal 1000. And it was just amazing to see. Just absolutely amazing to witness it. Watching it on TV. Well, technically watching it on my phone, but yeah. It was amazing to see. And it just shows that even at age 35, Buddy can still go off. And with that, I'm really hoping this is our year. Really hoping. But yeah. And then Collingwood versus Adelaide tipped the Pies, and Pies just looked absolutely dangerous against the Crows. 42-point win. The Pies just absolutely dominated this game, even with a 5-minute break in the beginning of the second quarter as a result of a small fire that actually happened at the MCG in second quarter. Although it was originally determined to be a false alarm, there actually was a very small fire in the stadium. But yeah, of course, it was eventually put out. Crows, they just have so many kicking problems. The Crows just have the definition of inexperience, it seems. They just can't catch a break in their games. They have trouble marking. They have trouble trying to keep possession of the footy. Those are the problems they seem to have. But that's what you expect from a very much rebuilding side. The Crows, this is their 4th year in the rebuilding phase? Because their last year where they actually had a winning record was 2018. They actually did have a winning record that season, and they somehow finished 12th that season. Dang. 2018 was just loaded. Yep, the Crows haven't been to finals since the grand final loss. And then Brisbane versus Essendon. The Bombers got off to a very hot start early on, but yeah, the Lions were able to come back. I'm going to say it, the Lions are the worst first quarter team. They just can't get going, but second quarter's when they really got going. And they got going as they should have, because yeah, that first quarter was just dreadful from the Lions. But yeah. And the next is possibly one of the biggest upsets we've seen in recent memory. Hawthorn destroying Port Adelaide at Adelaide Oval. It was just completely unexpected. The Hawks they just absolutely flexed their muscles all over Port. It's the biggest shocker in a while. And it's that one shocking win we always see on occasions. Just crazy to think. Just crazy to think that the Hawks just randomly turn into their three-peat form and just absolutely demolish Port. And what's even crazier to think is that they're actually on top of the ladder this week. This is the first time the Hawks are on top of the ladder in over 5 years. But yeah. And the next is Gold Coast versus Melbourne. The Suns put up a really good performance against the reigning premiers, and yeah, they're not looking too shabby. The Suns could certainly turn some heads if they keep up the form they have right now. That is certain. That is really certain. But yeah. And then the Roos versus West Coast. The Roos facing against a very much deflated Eagles team that was wrecked by COVID. And even with that, the Roos only won by 15 points. Like, they still had competition against a waffle-led Eagles side. I mean, they had Luke Shuey, but that was really it, and Kelly too. All the rest of the players were just waffle players. It was just a miserable performance for West Coast. But still, Roos with a decent win. Not really as expected as they wanted, but yeah. And then went 0-2 the rest of the round. Tipped Richmond to beat... No, I didn't tip Richmond. Tipped GWS to beat Richmond at the MCG since Dusty was out, but obviously I can't depend on one player, obviously, but yep, GWS are 0-2 as the Tigers end up destroying them at the MCG. They still dominate. And finally at Optus Stadium, Freo versus St. Kilda. Excuse me. Tipped Freo to beat the Saints, especially at their home advantage, but yep, didn't happen. Saints get a nice rebounding win. It just really shows how much Freo are doing so far this season. I mean, they almost lost to Adelaide. They almost lost to the Crows, who this week were proven by the Pies that they're steeper behind in the rebuilding phase than we think, obviously. But yeah. Anyways, let's get to the tips for the third round. That was the review for round 2. And here we go. And I will also be using a squiggle prediction to predict what I think will happen and all that goodness. Okay, so Thursday night footy, a very, very tense match between the Western Bulldogs and the Sydney Swans. The Doggies trying to recover after a miserable 0-2 start. They would end up losing to the D's in round 1 in the grand final rematch. And of course they also lost to the Blues last week. They lost to a very hungry Carlton team as well that has definitely looked much different under Michael Voss so far. And the Doggies, they're going against another tough side as the Swannies the Swannies, they're coming off a huge win over Geelong. A massive 5-goal win over Geelong. The Swans are looking as dominant as ever. Isaac Heaney, he is tearing it up right now. And when Buddy goes off, he absolutely goes off. And Ollie Florent, he's also been very dominant too. Mills as well. Whole Swans team has been dominant. And just the Dogs can't find rhythm. And the last time the Swans met the Dogs, I believe it was at Marvel, if I'm not wrong. It was a 19-point win over the Doggies, and not gonna lie, I feel like it could definitely repeat. I feel like a definite repeat on that effort. Regardless, though, I am gonna go with the Swannies to win this game. I'll say I'll say for right now 22 points, but the margin could be bigger. But regardless, though, Like, this could definitely be a 50-50 game, but that's only if the doggies go off. But with the Swans looking very dangerous as of right now, I think it's going to be really tough. Really, really tough for the doggies, for certain. And then next, it is the D's versus Essendon. The Bombers not in a good situation right now. They're 0-2 to start the season. Got blown out by Geelong. They absolutely got blown out by Geelong. And then they ended up losing to Brisbane after having a huge first quarter in that game. And I honestly see the same happening. I think the D's are going to be too strong for Essendon to handle. I'm going to say Melbourne win by 30 points. But yeah, here's the ladder predictor on Squiggle as well. I'll get that organized as well. So yeah, I said Swans to win by 22 points. And with that, they take the ladder lead temporarily in this situation. But yeah, for the D's, I'm going to say they win by 35 points. I think they're going to have a really strong performance. And I think they're going to be too good, honestly. And the next, at Adelaide Oval, it is the Adelaide Showdown, the Crows versus Port. Both teams are 0-2, with the biggest surprise out of the two obviously being Port. It's just crazy to think that the Power are 0-2 already. They're coming off the prelim appearance. And this is definitely a must-win game for Port against the Crows. The Crows have been looking really bad. The Crows are definitely looking very much in the gutter right now. Like, they're still far behind in their rebuilding phase. Like, it just seems like it's taking forever for them. But yeah, I expect a good win from Port in this game. I think they'll have a nice rebound of an effort. I'm gonna say Port win by 40. I'll say Port win by 43 points. And the next, it is GWS versus Gold Coast. The Giants coming off a really poor performance against Richmond. A Richmond team without Dusty. And they're facing against the Gold Coast Suns, who have been looking really, really strong early on. Not gonna lie, I'm gonna say Gold Coast win this game. Actually, they've actually been looking the Suns are looking the much better. The Suns look like a much better side right now than the Giants, actually. I think the Suns actually look really good. I mean, I get it that the Giants are going to be going for are going to be trying to rebound here, but I feel like the Suns, even if this game goes into a thriller, if this game becomes a thriller still, I still think, the Suns can prevail, but I'm going to go Gold Coast to win this game by 11 points. I think it will be a really close game as well. Next, it is Collingwood versus Geelong. The Cats coming off the loss against Sydney, and the Pies coming off a really strong win against the Adelaide Crows. But even with that, I think the Pies, I think the experience will get over them. We'll get onto them this week. I feel like the Cats are going to be in the efforts to wanting a strong win to rebound from the Swans' loss. I'm going to say the Cats win this game, and I think they'll win pretty big too. I'm going to say the Cats win by 36 points. But yeah. Next, it is the Brisbane Lions versus North Melbourne. At the Gabba, the Lions coming off a big win over Essendon, despite being down early on in that game. And the Roos, they're coming off a very tight win against the West Coast Eagles. But yeah, I'm gonna say the Lions win this game at home. They're obviously at home. I feel like the Lions got this game in the bag. I think they'll dominate this game. I'm gonna say. I'll say the Lions win by 42 points in this game. But yeah. And the next, it is at the MCG. Carlton versus Hawthorn. Two very surprising teams so far heading into this season. And both have actually gotten very quality wins so far. Of course, the Blues, they got that big win over... The Blues got that big win over the Western Bulldogs, and Hawthorn got a huge win over Port. Definitely some confidence boosters for both teams. But yeah. This one's going to be a very, very interesting game. No doubts about that. But yeah. And this one's like 50-50 in my opinion. Like, I think this could definitely be a very, very entertaining game. It could be a thriller even. But regardless though, this one's tough. Very, very tough. Like, both of these teams are actually looking really good for what they're doing. But regardless, though, I'm going to say... I think this is going to really depend on, like, you know, their... Like, really depend on, you know, how good their records are against each other. Like, this is what's going to... really depend this, like... This could definitely be an interesting game, no doubts about that. But yeah, let's see the win-loss table. Like, the win-loss table will depend on everything for me. Okay, Carlton it is. I'll say Carlton wins by 9 points. And the next Sunday games, well, the Carlton-Hawthorn game was the start of the Sunday games, but I obviously live in the U.S., so the game starts like very late on Saturday. But yeah. Now on to the rest of the Sunday games. St. Kilda versus Richmond. The Saints coming off a very close win against Rio, and Richmond coming off a huge win. A huge win against... And then, oh my god. Richmond coming against a huge win over GWS. The Saints have been looking really... Both sides coming off huge wins. But in the end, I think... in the end, however, I think... I feel like... But in the end, however, I think Richmond are the better side in this right now. Like, I feel like the Tigers will once again try and dominate the Saints. I'll say Richmond win by 35 points. And look at that, Richmond are back in the 8. And finally, it is the derby in the West. The West Coast Eagles versus Freo. The Eagles looking absolutely deflated as of right now. They're in a dire situation in regards to their players. Like, the COVID situation has really messed them up. Absolutely messed them up. But regardless, though, I feel like this game, it's going to be really... It might be a tight one, but... Just with how Freo have been doing, but... I feel like this game could definitely be an interesting one, but regardless, though... If the COVID situation for the Eagles stays bad, I'm gonna tip Freo to win this game. That's if their COVID situation is still bad, but yeah. So Freo by 10 points. So here is the final projected ladder I have for round 3. No, not round 3. Yeah, round 3. D's first, Brisbane second, Swans third, Blues fourth, Hawthorn fifth, Geelong sixth, Richmond seventh, Suns eighth. Yeah, Suns in the 8 for a third consecutive week. Collingwood 9th, Freo 10th, Port 11th, St Kilda 12th, North Melbourne 13th, West Coast 14th, Bulldogs 15th, GWS 16th, Adelaide 17th, and Essendon in 18th. So those are my tips for this round. I hope you enjoyed this video, guys. I know it's gone a bit long, but yeah. And I'm the AFL Yank, signing out. Click that like button, share this video, and subscribe. And subscribe to my channel, Carn the Swannies. And I'll be back next week. I'll be back sometime. I'll be back by next weekend. Yeah, I'm the AFL Yank, signing out. Carn the Swannies.